and welcome to another episode of Queen City Unleashed. I am Chef Alyssa, and today I am here with Chef Alyssa of Chef Alyssa's Kitchen, actually in the cooking space. Thank you so much for having us. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, and I'm happy that you're in our home here.
Yeah, my wife and I are actually going to be taking a cooking class here afterwards. So I'm very excited about this. She said that she tried to find one for us in Valentine's Day, but it is very busy. So now we know if we want this for Valentine's Day, we need to book way ahead of time.
Way early in this case. It's super early.
Is it open now already?
No, but you're a little bit closer to the holiday.
Fair. All right, well, I'm excited to chat with you about your journey. A lot of people I know who you are and have attended classes and said great things. So I'm excited to get to that. But first, I want to get to know you. Yeah. If you had to describe yourself to someone, a stranger, how would you describe Chef Alyssa?
Well, I would say I'm a chef, business owner, mom. I do everything I can to stay happy in my life. And through that, I just try to love what I do every step of the way.
Awesome. So are you from Charlotte? I think you're one of the few guests I've had that's actually a native of the city.
Yeah, it's cool. I am a native to Charlotte. Okay. Grew up here, moved here when I was like 4. And it's amazing to have watched the city grow because now I meet so many people that are here, like, I love putting down roots here, and it's cool because I feel better about having stayed in my hometown, which is not so much of a town, but yeah.
Did you have regret about that early before the city turned to what it is now?
I did. It was kind of a weird phase in I would say my 20s where I had graduated culinary school, and there is really anywhere you can take food. So I could work anywhere. I could really grab hold of a lot of opportunities, but just progress of the city kind of kept giving me other opportunities to kind of, okay, well, I could go here as a lower level cook, or I could keep building my reputation and moving up. So I kind of wanted to just keep doing that. But definitely I would say like maybe through the 2008 to like 15 kind of time frame, I was meeting a lot of people who were like, oh yeah, Charlotte's cool, but like it's not home to me, or it needs this. Charlotte needs this. And or I miss this part about home. I would hear that constantly, and I was always a little bit insecure, like, well, I like Charlotte. I'm really happy to be here. And then especially through meeting my husband when I did, this was like 2012 or so, I was starting to meet more people that were like, oh, I'm so happy to have moved here and I love it and I'm going to stay. So it started to make me feel a lot more secure in that way.
Like you made the right decision. What year did you say that was that you think it started to take a turn where people were actually happy to be here?
I would say maybe the 2012 to, 15 or so. I've met a lot of people who are like, I've been here for 8 years and they're really proud of that. So
came in around that time. I think that's interesting. I think I missed that for the town I grew up in. So I'm from Richmond. And I think I was the person that was like, Richmond has nothing, there's nothing exciting about it. And so now a lot of people I know feel the same way that I feel about being here in Charlotte that I was feeling about Richmond back then. I was like, oh, there's nothing here to keep me. It's not exciting enough, or it needs X, Y, and Z. And now a lot of people are like, hey, it's got it all now, which is super, super exciting. Yeah. Okay, so when you are not working and nothing food related, how do you like to spend your time?
I love yoga. I frequent Y2, and then I also really love going. We're part of like the JCC, so I'll go to a lot of like programs. I work out there. Okay. I'm with my kids a lot, so my hobbies would probably be just like trying to stay healthy and then just also just enjoy my time with.
What
my
are
kids.
Fun family hobbies that you guys enjoy?
Well, they're little now, so they're really active. So we look up different parks. They get excited about going to different parks. So we'll go to different areas of town. It's never too far to just go take a little excursion. Or find an activity that we know that everybody will love and expose them to something, a festival, whatnot. Yeah. So it's kind of just like finding what might be going on right now, meet up with some friends and do fun family activities. That's kind of where we're at in my
Charlotte
life.
has a lot of that. Are you guys at the point where a lot of your friends also have kids around their age, or you're
Yeah.
becoming friends with the parents of your kids' friends? Is that a lot of it now?
Yeah, that it definitely is. So our friendships grow with that in common now with the new people that we meet.
That's
Yeah.
fun. We are getting to the point where a lot of our friends are starting to have babies, and they are telling us about friend groups that they have with people who also have kids. It's like, yeah, that is the next evolution of where we are going now.
Yeah.
It's like all of our friends a lot of them are gonna start having kids, so that's where we're gonna be hanging out. You said yoga. This year, this year was the first year I actually did yoga. Studio, our very first interview with Katie, chef at the Coterie. Love them over there. And it has been fun and very relaxing. Would you say that's a hobby of yours, or would you say that you have other hobbies? Because that's a question that I've been asking more recently. Do you have adult hobbies?
It's hard to have adult hobbies. Like, I think that's why people really are trying to love their career, because they're trying to make offshoots of their career part of what they love to do. It's hard to say. I probably have more that I want to do.
Okay, what are
gets
some
put
of
on
those
the back
things?
burner.
What are some of those things?
Oh, like little things to learn, like learning to sew. I mean, I love doing things like that are like I can create something.
You're a
so,
chef. I think that makes sense.
and I don't know, just little things like that. Kind of home improvement phase, I would say, is definitely part of my era right now.
Okay.
It just comes with it. So I'm just embracing all the things that life kind of gives you at this stage for me, and that is not work related. Yeah, and it kind of takes me away from it.
You said something there that I'm probably going to be thinking about for a week, of people wanting to find enjoyment in their job and the shift because they oftentimes won't have time for a hobby. And I've never thought about that, but I know a lot of people are, especially this generation, more chasing enjoyment in job than folks who would have worked 30 years at a place that they didn't love, but they knew was going to pay the bills in that shift. But I never thought about it as sometimes that's a way to replace the feeling of a hobby that you would get.
Yeah, and I guess if you are in a job, like I can speak just for myself with having something that you're never really not thinking about, you're never really completely out of, and especially with just seeing so much opportunity in the world to kind of forge your own path.
Yeah.
So, and I definitely meet a lot of people who are working regular jobs and maybe they're doing a side hustle because yep.
One of those people.
You would probably say this is a hobby.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a project, but it's a hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is something that I am challenged by, that I get to spend a lot of time thinking about. It's something that I find myself being really proud of when I have when we put out a great episode or like get great feedback, something that I'm proud of. But my life is not dependent on the success or failure of this. And so that's where, when I think of it, it's like, yeah, this is
passion project.
Yeah, it's a passion project. People ask if it's a business, and it's like, we're not doing anything right now. There's no product for people to purchase. So I don't see it as a business. And some people are like, it is, but for me, it's like, this is definitely a passion project that just gives me a lot of joy. And I didn't think I was creative before this because I'm not like drawing and I wasn't musical, but I found myself to be creative in how we have these conversations, the questions, and how we put the clips out and things like that. So it is definitely a hobby that I've learning to love, and it's pushing me to meet people like yourself. So where would you say are some of the restaurants that you enjoy? Because I'm sure you're very critical as a chef. What are some places, like family staples, like you and the family are going out to eat somewhere? What's a place you guys love?
Oh my goodness. That's a harder question than it should be because I really do cook a lot at home.
Really?
But with going out, there are a few places that we just love and I know will be great for everybody to please so many folks in the family. So there's like probably a separate list of when Andrew and I get time to go out, or we're gonna go meet up with friends, and then the time where we
Let's
do
get that
the kids.
list, the you and Andrew list. Like, what is it? What are those places?
Those places, Gosh, and I still have to like, I always forget places when I and
When
ask
you
this
need to
question. So
have
I should
them.
have like really locked them in beforehand. But like if we get a really special occasion out, we love like Los Strica, which is in not too far from here in off
Okay.
Park Road. We love places. Oh my gosh, I need to like really think about this because we sometimes are like, oh, I need to try something.
We
Um,
have a long list of places
this
that were like, oh, we haven't doing this podcast. I've heard so many restaurants that I've lived here for 4 years and like to think we've gotten out to eat. And people say a place that I'm like, I've never heard of that
yeah.
restaurant. They're like, it's been here 15 years. And I'm like, I've never heard of it.
Yeah. Well, there are so many places to
Oh,
try,
yeah.
and I'll say I am the least critical when it comes to
Okay.
eating out.
Okay.
But I keep things really simple. I'm like a really, to be completely honest, I'm like the probably one of the worst chefs to ask this question because I do focus a lot on like eating very healthful. So
Yeah.
like when I go out, I need a restaurant that's very vegetable forward,
Okay.
locally driven. Those are the kinds of
Yeah.
places I like. So we'll find comfort in places like 300 East and places I know that can adapt to like different kinds of dietary restrictions
Yeah.
and things like that. So those are the kind of things that I try to look for. But
And
yeah,
I feel like
and then-
Charlotte's got, I haven't lived in a lot of other big cities, but I feel like Charlotte has a really good mix of places like that that are farm to table or as close to that as can be, naturally sourced, locally sourced. And I feel like that helps for the food. And like you have places that you can eat a big meal and you don't feel like, ugh, at the end of it. Like you feel like, okay, I can still go do an activity after this, and the food quality is still like
Yeah.
top notch. Well, we've eaten a lot more of those places than I thought we would find in a city like this, but maybe it's just they're in every city. You just got to find them.
Yeah, and it reminds me of something I used to say when people would ask me specifically, what's going to make Charlotte like a bigger city? And
Yeah.
something that would always signal me was when our casual restaurants feel like great for going out. And if you can find a casual spot that has fantastic food, then I think we've leveled up. So it's not just a special occasion restaurant. You can
Yeah.
find great food at any time. So another one is like Restaurant Constance. We like to go there for
Yeah.
a good,
They're on-
and
they're on the
same, same sort of, thing. And I really enjoyed a meal I had at Third and Fernwood when I went there. When they had first opened.
Yep.
So there's a lot of places I'm like, okay, bookmarked, have to go back. And
Absolutely.
And always another probably place I've been loving is Mas Tortilleria, which is
Where's that?
it's nearby, like in the Lower Tuck neighborhood, J Street.
Okay.
Really good too. Very
you said
fresh.
two. You said two that we've enjoyed. Third and Fernwood. We've gone a handful of times there. Uptown Yoke is like one of their restaurants, one of my favorite brunch spots. And the restaurant Constance, we went for my wife's birthday, and it was so good. It was so good. And like you can tell that it's like fresh and like very thoughtful. And so I think you're right. I do tell people that you don't like you can go to really nice restaurants here and not have to get super fancy, and the food is going to be good and like really good quality. And I feel like I don't want to get dressed up to go to a nice restaurant.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah, and why if I can't make it out to Kindred, the milk bread's there, and that's a great good.
You're hitting all my spots. Okay,
Good.
all right. These are some milk bread. Saturday morning.
We'll find each other in town a lot more often now.
Yes, Saturday morning. We don't want to do anything. We're like milk bread. Yes, always yes. So. Talking about the evolution of the city, as someone who's been here, what is one of your favorite things about the city now? I know you said the finding fresh places that you can go eat now, but is there an activity, landmarks, experiences that you think make this city so special now?
I mean, it sounds like pretty like this would probably be an answer a lot of people give, but like places like Whitewater Center, big places that are constantly growing and hitting every demographic for enjoyment are cool. I think about places I want to tell people about and take people to. So those are unique things. But I also feel like it's cool because you can go to lots of different areas of Charlotte and find some, you could, even if you're in the suburbs, you can find some unique family-owned or
Yeah.
small places. So I think that there's just an ability here also to start something and try it and find an audience. So that's something I can't speak to other markets and if people find that easy, but it does feel like something that I've heard, especially chefs tell me about, like, well, I wanted to start this kind of pop-up concept, or I wanted to start doing some in-home dinners and stuff, and I was amazed at how quickly things took off for me.
Really?
So those kinds of things I think are special, and that because we're a small, big city.
Yeah. Someone said in the episode before that because so many people are transplants trying to find their thing, people are more willing to take a risk at whatever that thing may be and seeing where that could take them, which I think only just makes our city better because I think we're going to find really amazing, cool things because of the risks people take. And when you don't get people who want to take risks, you end up with cities. Maybe that's how you end up with cities, that the culture doesn't change forever, that it's the same because everyone does things by the book. No one's willing to kind of take the leap. So I think maybe that's why our city's evolving the way that it is. All right, so Chef Alyssa, I want to hear about this story from the first time you said, I want to cook, or this is my passion, to now. What was that journey? What was that first moment where you were like, yes, this is what I want to pursue? And then how did we get to the powerhouse that you are now in Charlotte?
Well, I was in high school when I got introduced to cooking as a career. So I would say at home, I would always dabble a bit and try things and, just work in the kitchen a little bit. And then when the high school that I attended, which was South Mech, they had a culinary program, like a commercial kitchen. And I did for junior and senior year, I got to work in that kitchen and got introduced to it being a career. And I was always interested in something artistic, something creative. And it was the first thing that really, like, in my mind was a practical thing I could pursue. So it spoke to me. And there is a bit of a difference between loving to cook and then doing it for a career. So it had its ups and downs with,
Could you explain that a little bit?
Well, quantity also, you making something and really tending to it in your home kitchen, you're maybe making it for a couple people or a small dinner party. But when you really have to make large quantities of something, it can really you have to really understand how ingredients work and how to prep them and how to make it happen especially in a restaurant. So just kind of going down the path of, I want to work in restaurants. I want to work my way up. And I never really thought I'd leave working in restaurants. So there's stressors of just constantly being on your feet, constantly having to work as a team with other people, but it's not really a team. Like, you are still responsible for certain things. Everything's coming together and everybody plays a part. But there are a lot of things that are very individual about what you do because you're kind of doing one part of a meal and you maybe aren't thinking outside of that one part in all cases, but it all has to hum along and you've got kind of a chef conductor. Like, it all has to work together and you have to learn timing. I tell that to people a lot when not to go off on a tangent of my path, but I tell people that a lot with cooking and teaching people how to cook. You can learn how to do something that maybe somebody deems as advanced. You can learn to do it really well through practice and repetition. But in order to really become a seasoned cook and know that you are an experienced cook is learning timing. Timing and temperature are everything. So you have to be experienced in a lot of different ways to know how you can juggle many different and multitask many different parts of a dish. So if you're going to cook a whole meal, but you're not just doing that one thing that you've perfected, you're doing that among a lot of other things that you have to understand how time and temperature are going to work with
Time
you.
and temperature.
So that's what makes you a more advanced cook. So in my classes, when I distinguish between something beginner, intermediate, and advanced, advanced is a little bit harder to really pin down. It might be a workshop of some sort, but how quickly you can grasp something based on your prior experience. But intermediate is kind of that middle ground of, I'm not going to teach you the basics. You have to kind of understand those and then juggle many different things. Whereas beginner, I'm giving you one thing to work on and then just working all of it together. So working as a career in food is different than loving it and doing it as a hobby.
This is now making me so glad I signed up for the beginner class for us to take. Because like I like to think that I can handle myself in the kitchen, but now you're saying these things. I'm like, good thing I didn't sign up for the intermediate or advanced class.
Well, so many folks, and it's not a bad thing. So many folks just don't understand that gauge because how often are you working with cooks? You might just see somebody in a kitchen or an open kitchen and think like, well, it's that. Or so to the same effect, a lot of people I would think can handle more, think they're super beginner. So I see that a lot. It's hard to like place people. But that being said, I kind of worked through restaurants and chose this career path, but then really adapted to loving those aspects of it.
Yeah.
So once you get good at something, you're like, yeah, like what else you got? And you just like love what you've chosen in a lot of different ways versus it turning you off. So I would say that for many people that I've worked with and why you kind of keep progressing because you just learn new things and perfect new things. And you just it's a constant learning, constant evolving in your style and what you love about it and finding that like voice. So through that, I really started to learn what I love about food. And what I love is cooking seasonally and cooking with local ingredients. So I learned that from
I'm hearing a lot more about.
Yeah, many of the chefs, the chefs that I consider mentors are the ones that help me find that love of food and then encouraged it. So they just were working with ingredients that I was like, this is the way to cook. This is the way to cook and this is the way to eat. So support your local farmers, support your local purveyors because that's the highest quality and best healthy food that you can get. So I kind of did that. And when I met my husband, I guess it was at a point in my now husband, we were dating when we conceptualized Chef Alyssa's Kitchen.
Okay.
And it was his idea. I mean, he was working in events and I was working in a restaurant. I was the executive chef at Fern, which is no longer with us in Charlotte, but I think was a great piece of Charlotte.
Yeah.
And it was not on my radar what people cook at home. It was on my radar, how can I just make people happy while they're in my space dining? So he kind of made me think about that part of food and why, and how it could kind of help people along with what I've learned and how to like extrapolate different things and make just as good a food as you love eating out, but surprise people with how quickly and how well it can come together in their home kitchens.
Right.
And then just learning that piece of it. But the important thing for what we did was when we were thinking about this is we want to make it appeal to everybody. So we want to make it a place where you can have fun doing it. You can love cooking or you can never have thought of yourself taking a cooking class and you'll still walk away thinking, I loved that experience.
Yeah.
So it's fun and it's lively and people are working together, but you're learning from amazing chefs along the way and putting a meal together that's just as good as what you'd eat out. So over the years, we've fine-tuned that. When did you guys
start officially?
We started 2012. So that we'll be entering into our 12th year, or maybe it was 2013. Actually, I have to double check that. But yeah, it was. We're in our 11th year officially of being in business, but actually from the day we started, the model hasn't changed. The way that we run the class with the chef demonstration and then 4 people working together to make the dish, following along. Yeah, it's taken the tweaks and getting better and everything, but the model of it has been the same setup as when we first started.
You said something that I'm sure my wife is going to joke with me about later about making restaurant food at home. We'll go places and enjoy a meal, and she'll look at me and go, I can make this at home. And I always say, no, don't. And she's like, why? It's like, because it gives us something to go out and do. I was like,
Yeah.
you make it at home. I know you're going to make sure you perfect it. And now it's just one less thing I can go eat out because I'm going to be like, it's not as good as what we have at home. I was like, so don't try to study every dish when we go out. Like, we want to be able to enjoy something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll just never leave the house. So she's like, well, I don't know. So some of them she will still try to figure out how to make at home. And some she's like, okay, I'll leave that one alone. Because like, that's part of the fun, being able to go out and not have to cook. Like that's part of that's half
I feel that.
That is half the allure for me going out to eat is we just don't have to do the cooking. If we learn to cook everything and now nobody else can stack up, we're gonna be cooking all the time. So that's no fun.
Yeah.
But we are enjoying, we cook a lot together, and you said supporting local farms. We're part of a farm share now that we started this year that we'll pick up, and we are cooking more things that we ever cooked before together. We've been together for 9 years, married 5 next month. And so we've cooked a lot. Thank you. We've cooked a lot together, and we had probably 12 to 13 things that you cycle, maybe change the vegetable here, change the starch here, but pretty similar.
Base recipes.
Right.
Yeah.
With this new farm share, we have gotten all these different types of vegetables. And of course, now I'm going to blank on the vegetables that we have gotten, but we've gotten fennel, a lot of dill, so much basil that she started making her own pesto, which is fantastic. But we're cooking very, very differently and so much fresher. And now it's like, okay, we can actually try a handful of other things before we go back to one of our more staple dishes that we cook at home. And so I do think it opens your world up when you are getting very fresh. You know, you have to cook it within a couple of days so it doesn't go bad. So we're trying to not waste these great vegetables.
Use all the different parts of it. And you're like, oh, all of a sudden I can make a carrot top pesto, or I can, those simple things,
like that.
Use the greens, and because there they are. They're so fresh, and and things last so much longer too.
Yeah.
I mean, so much longer than the grocery store.
Little small tricks, wrap this in a wet paper towel, put this in a Ziploc bag, and it's like, the fresh stuff tastes better, lasts longer, and that's what you want ideally when you're eating.
Yeah.
I have a question for you that is more selfish than anything. Working with your husband, how awesome is that?
I do love it. I do love it. I truly, truly love it.
I just think that's cool that you get to show up, that it was apparently his idea for it, but it's something you guys get to work on together. You're a team at home, you're a team here. How much joy does that give you that you guys are in this, every part of your life in it together? Well,
first off, I love how you framed that question and how you approached it, because it wasn't, gosh, working with my spouse, I could never do that. How do you do that? It's not with that mindset. It's the mindset is, what more can we do together? And I truly, truly love it. We have to first and foremost just accept different parts of each other. And that's not a bad thing. It's just where I can't speak for him. I'm going to speak for me. Where I am not strong in something, I have somebody who's going to help me through it with my best interest in mind. Yeah. It's not a bad thing that I have to either learn something or understand something better, or what he's better at. There's a great balance. So it's just being humble, learning about each other, and knowing that you're going into this work with customers, with employees, with a lot of other opinions and things and people that you truly want to please. And how do you approach things takes a lot of figuring out, especially in a job where we kind of created the job. We didn't just, take on an already functioning thing. Right. So it's living and breathing, and it's changing and evolving, and so I really love it, and I feel like I get to just kind of be creative about stuff all the time because I have somebody right there with me thinking through things just as much as I am.
Yeah, I love that. I appreciate you saying I phrased the question the right way, and it's important to me. I think marriage gets a big joke these days, or takes like the butt end of a joke oftentimes of like, oh, I have to spend all day with my partner. But so I started working from home, and people make the joke like, are you guys getting on each other's nerves? And we're like, no, this is great. I was like, I can see her at any moment of the day. We can go to the gym together, come home, make breakfast together, have lunch together, and then like go do whatever activity after work. I'm like, I was like, I enjoy it. Like it is a great thing. Even I remember when I first started working, we got married and then COVID happened. So we spent like the first 4 or 5 months together all day.
It's like
So
make or break for so many.
And I started my job, and I was like, I'm so happy to be out of the house. We just got married, and we'd been together the whole time. And people were like, oh, trying to get away from home? I'm like, no. I said, we've ran out of things to talk about. I was like, I'm not doing
Gotta get some new material.
Right? I was like, I'm not doing anything. I was like, I sit home. She was working, and I was finishing grad school, about to work. I sit on the couch. So when she asked what's going on, I'm giving her updates about the TV show I'm watching. I was like, and now that I'm working, I actually can come back and tell her like, hey, I met so-and-so at work. I'm working on this project. But for me, it is like, we were best friends before we started dating. And now like doing this podcast, like, I don't know if you saw her, she's giving instruction, do this, don't do that. And it's like, yeah, this is someone that I know she's not being punitive. She wants the absolute best for me. And I think that just makes it easier to like, take a risk, or like, okay, I'm gonna try this. Yeah. Let me know, like you said, let me know what you think of this. Like there've been ideas for little clips that I'll put together. I'm like, what do you think? And she's like, well, did you think about this? And it's like, oh no, I didn't. And it's great to have a sounding board of someone that you know really cares about you, your well-being, your success, and all of that. And that's why I wanted to ask the question selfishly
I love it. You have the right perspective. And I think the more that we can, when people do approach us in a certain way of asking those things, it's like, no, let's reframe this, because I want you to go back and think, I could potentially do that. And, you know, people are already doing it a little bit in their lives too, in some ways. And if there's anybody you're going to set aside your ego for, it should be your partner.
Right.
Like, you know,
Absolutely. Oh, awesome. Okay. I want to ask you, I've been doing my research on you prepping for the interview, and you've gotten a lot of awards, and I was not going to try to even list them. But I'm curious to you, which award was maybe most surprising and which one meant the most to you based off of the values that you have when you approach cooking?
Oh, wow. Well, I would say a few that stand out for me personally was being able to achieve some of the Charlotte Business Journal awards, because that was another step for me. A lot of times chefs are winning awards because they're put up as like, well, a cooking competition or something like that. And those I shy away from, because it's really hard to take somebody at one dish. You know, it's fun to watch, but I don't think it really speaks to the chef in a lot of ways. So I'm so honored to have received I think 25 best in women in business. That might have been 2021, and I won a 40 under 40 award. Maybe it was the next year, but those are ones that I'm like, wow, I'm really feel so honored by, because I think of myself as a chef, but now adding businesswoman to things is something that I'm really appreciative of, and was a goal of mine to really be better in this realm. But then I also have words like, and I'm blanking on the exact word, but it was like a Charlotte Tourism Award that we got from the CRVA. And I will have to get for you the exact name of the award, but we were just honored for being an experience that is bringing value to Charlotte.
Wow.
And that's another thing too, you know, that the chef ones, again, I typically shy away from the cooking competition part of things, or in these phases of my life, they're fun. But so those I think are just ones that have been really impactful to
That's
us
gonna
in
be
our
cool
business.
as a native too, you as someone who is from here to be recognized for adding value to your hometown city.
Yeah.
That's got to be really, really special. Any that surprised you, like that the women one you were saying was maybe the most surprising?
Yeah, like women in business, and I'm like, wow, thinking of me as a woman in business, just stacked up against so many other incredible women that are just like, we've got so many big business here in Charlotte. And that was like really special. And I know I'm probably missing things when I go about this, but it just, that was definitely very, just a different kind of honor outside of
especially when you're not
food.
doing it chasing the awards. Like I think that's the cool piece, that there's certain things that like I know there's certain chef cooking recognitions that people want to achieve because it validates them as a chef. And I think it's cool though when the awards come that they're not the ones you're chasing, but it's because the people or your community around you want to recognize you for what you bring to them.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
Really special.
Okay, I know you don't do cooking shows, competitions anymore, but Be Bobby Flay, you were on the show.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that experience? I just feel like, as maybe not something you want to do all the time, but as a chef who figured this out in high school, that's got to be a really cool experience to like be on Food Network and get to do that. What was that like?
Really cool and nerve-wracking because, I've done local TV or something and maybe there's like a camera.
Yeah.
But this is like
high production.
25, 30 cameras, just like only around you. So that's like a lot to get used to. And so many other chefs in the city that have done like multiple shows and, and probably speak to this, like they've gotten probably used to that, which was just my kind of single experience with that. But it was, at the coolest part is that friends and family all over could tell me they were watching it. Yeah. And when a rerun came on and my daughter got to watch, like that's pretty freaking cool.
That's electric.
Lives.
Yeah.
It lives. You don't, it's just, you never know when it's going to come on. And you don't know who's going to come in contact with you, whether it's in a class or sending you an email that's like, oh, we caught you on this. I'm like, wow. Like it just goes in another way. There's not a lot that can bring you outside of your network than a TV show can.
Yeah. So in a show like that, I know I watch that with my family a lot. There's the secret ingredient that you don't know. How much preparation as a chef can you do? Are you giving yourself 20 minutes ahead of time leading up to it, say, pick a random thing and try to incorporate it? Or is it just thinking through, okay, no matter what they throw at me, I could do X, Y, or Z? What is that preparation?
Well, the preparation that I did beforehand was more with that particular show, the dish I was hoping to make, which was, I was going to do a Moroccan tangine. So I traveled to New York with tangines, not just for me, but in case I did get to that point, they wanted to make sure there was one there for Bobby Flay. Yeah. So I literally brought 2 with me in flight, and I kept practicing the dish to make sure it would fit into the time frame, and I was locked in. But as far as the special ingredient, it was just a little hard to do. I think my husband would be like, okay, I'm going to set a timer while you're making dinner just to like get you used to the time frame. I'm like, oh, great, thanks. So, it was more like understanding how I could cook within the parameters of the time. The ingredient was a little hard to know because I was like, I don't want to focus on anything knowing anything could happen. So I just didn't want to jinx myself. I just wanted to be clear-headed about whatever I was going to be thrown at me and just know that could I make a lot of different things within the time frame.
Okay. Last question about it. Have you cooked mackerel since?
Oh my gosh, no. And I don't think I ever did before. So.
Really? There was no part of you that said afterwards, like, I want to come back and see what else I can make with it. Nothing?
No. I can confidently say...
Really?
No.
I really thought I was going to ask this question. You'd be like, yeah, I've made a whole bunch of other dishes
and here it is for you.
No, like, interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not one that me as an average person would be cooking, but I didn't know for you, like you maybe threw it into a class or something.
No, not really. No, because it's just, it's not one that I think most people would find that they're
interesting to or be looking for either. Yeah, I've never once said, you know what I want some good mackerel.
Yeah.
Like, it's not.
Yeah, occasionally when I'm planning like a Spanish tapas class, I'll come across a recipe or so, but it's still just not like really on my radar.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So in this world of being business owner, chef, wife, mom, what are some of those things that you have learned about yourself in since starting Chef Alyssa? You could even go back further, but thinking about when you started Chef Alyssa to now, things you've learned about yourself being wearing all of those hats, and some of the good things you've learned, or some of the struggles.
Yeah. Um, I've learned to communicate, to really communicate, and in different ways that it is okay to not to just. I need to talk things through a lot. So anytime I can just take one of my team members and talk through something to really arrive at what's going to be the best like approach to something.
Yeah.
Um, and I just say that because I put a lot of pressure on myself early on to have the answer because I need to direct somebody or I need to be able to speak confidently in front of a crowd. Um, so I would always just like not, maybe hold things in or feel like I need to figure out the answer.
Right.
Like I need to go research. I need to go talk to somebody kind of behind the scenes to make sure I'm approaching things in the right way. But I've learned that I need to be open. I need to be vulnerable and say it's okay that I don't have the answer or I'm a little blindsided by this. I need to think about it. So just that kind of honest, open communication
Yeah.
is just what I've like learned to do the best I can at. So I'm serving everybody around me with the
Right.
kind of respect and that's a constant practice that I don't ever want somebody to walk away from a conversation with me or a experience with me thinking that was it. Like I did, there's always room for
Yeah.
more growth and more talking through things, I guess, with that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I've just learned to say, I don't have to have the answer and that's okay. I can talk through it. I can take a moment and just like learn what I can to do the best that I can.
There's something freeing, I will say, for me to not like in doing this. I feel like that's part of when we're talking about podcast being a passion project or a hobby. I think there's something freeing for me that it is not because I'm not getting paid for it that I am very much okay with like, I have no idea how to do this. Like some of the graphic stuff using Canva, I'm looking at my wife, I'm like, help, please. Like I think there's something nice about not having to have the answers and being willing and humble enough. Like I think for you, if you're figuring this is the business named after you, but for you to be wanting to be open to have that conversation with your team to say and let them know that it's like, hey, we can continue to have a conversation if necessary, I think makes a world of a difference as a leader. To me, those are the good leaders that I think of in my life that I'm like, yeah, because you don't just have a conversation and close the door on it. Like you're willing to let us come back or let me take a minute, go think through things and come back. And I think that goes a long way for people who have to follow leaders, no matter what it is. When the other piece I'm thinking of for you, all the hats you wear, a lot of people say work-life balance. Some people say work-life harmony because there's no way to balance all the things.
I like that.
It's the 15 balls in the air and you just got to keep them all up. And as long as they're up, that's what some might be higher than others at a moment, but as long as they're all up, what is that like for you? The boundaries that you set for yourself personally and professionally, the way you make yourself available for your husband and your kids outside. What is that harmony like for you?
I do like that approach. There's a good way of saying things because there can't ever be a full separation. If I'm, sometimes it's setting aside time, scheduling time that I know this is going to be my focus at this point, or setting up things that I know I can tackle. Like I would say, ever since having kids, the work life of an entrepreneur, like myself, my husband, and anybody like you talk to that's on this path is, especially after having kids, like that window of time like shrinks, and I'm not able to commit as long of a day or even as long of a just extra days that I used to before. So I have to fit things in. So that in of itself has created boundaries. I can identify in myself when my mood's shifting and I'm not committing to like being happy and in the moment with my kids because I've got this work on my mind. So having to like make that quick shift has been a practice.
Present.
And being present, and then telling myself like, I know that I'm a little bit burned out on this. It's gonna have to wait. I can't spend the energy now to focus on it. So just but at the same time embracing the fact that I could have a great idea for something in the middle of my, Sunday. And so I need to like work on it and pay some
Yeah.
attention, and that I am not going to be like, oh, that's work and I'm not going to do it. So just kind of, taking the time and whatever it could be that something needs, I
Yeah.
guess, if that's but I think you said it right with harmony.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with my little sister, and she's in college, and she was talking about like her extracurriculars in school and stuff, and I'm like, giving yourself grace sometimes to like maybe everything is not going to get done like the way you want. I feel like a lot of business owners are going to be more type A personalities. They have the checklist. They wake up and they're like, I want to get 14 things done today. And if they get 13, it feels like failure. It's like, hey, you did 13. And if you knocked all 13 out the park, that's a win. And so trying to give her some of that perspective, because for me, I have those moments too, where it's like, I wanted to do all these things after work. And I did 2 or 3 of them. But then it's like, okay, the release I get from those 2 or 3 being done, that's also a win. And like trying to give myself grace for that is something that I think a lot of entrepreneurs have to figure out. Otherwise, they beat themselves up and they're not able to enjoy the wins. Like, you have a fantastic business, like that's a win. So no matter what, like if you don't get it all done, like you still have that. You have your family, your husband, that like all of it is still a win together. What, moving forward, what is it another location? Is it more offerings? What is the next step for you? And maybe it's something outside of Chef Alyssa's kitchen, but what is that? And what is your inspiration to kind of keep going on this path?
Growth has been in the conversation for a good bit. And so we've got a lot of ideas for things that we're really actively trying to make happen. So one is to open another location here in Charlotte that would be a little smaller than this space, but allow us to have more classes going, as we do a lot of private team buildings and events for private groups. So that tends to overflow our calendar, and we don't always have every opportunity we want to put all the wonderful classes we create to put up. So we need more space is kind of the reason. We need more space, and we're looking for that here. And then outside of that, we're looking for the next step of another city. So like in the next few years, I don't know the time frame, but we are looking for probably in like the Raleigh Triangle area for a space, because it feels like a natural shift
It's
there.
North Carolina, not too far,
And we are working internally. We had a spreads line. We had a champagne tomato jam and a smoked chili rosemary mustard that we used to have on the market pre-pandemic. And sort of we ran into some obstacles with production, and it kind of came along with the times of the pandemic. We're working to get that back up and running, and we have a team member that is working on that. So in the last year, we've had somebody named Claire. She's in the building now. She's worked a lot on our brand and what other things we can do within the brand to and that's one thing that we're actively trying to get back and kind of create a pantry of items that we can be really creative about. So expand what that initially was and bring it back. So those are the growth things that we're working on, and there's no clear path to it, so it's learning as we go and not really having like a set time on when they're going to happen. It's just this general idea, but as long as we keep chipping away at the goal, it's a win for us.
One foot in front of the other. And so what is your inspiration? Like, what are you looking for? Is there you want to challenge yourself in something? What is your inspiration?
My inspiration are the people that I work with every day, the people in the space that have made Chef Alyssa's Kitchen what it is, that we care for so much and wanting to create forward progress for them. And the people in this industry that I have spoken to that are opening more restaurants or building on their concepts that I've been inspired by are doing it because they have such great people on their team that have been with them for so long and wanting to create opportunities for growth. And so that there's a more of a path for everybody on our team, not just the people that have been with us for a long time, to continue to grow. So that's the inspiration fully is the team, the people that we want to create for.
I love that. I think if more leaders focus their goals on doing right by the people who have helped make them successful, I think people would retain people in ways that we haven't seen before. And I think that goes a long way. And I'm sure your staff and team can absolutely feel that. Okay, closing. ChefAlyssa'sKitchen.com. Where can people find you to find your list of classes?
Yeah. So you can follow along with what we're doing on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok.
Okay.
And so Chef Alyssa at Chef Alyssa CLT for all those things with different videos from just everything we're doing in these walls and beyond. And then our website, ChefAlyssa'sKitchen.com, is where you can see our list of classes. And I always encourage people to sign up for our newsletter, because our newsletter is where we'll put a batch of classes out at once, so you can kind of like know that they're here and figure out something you want to sign up for instead of feeling like you got to keep checking the website.
Okay.
So that's
sign up for the newsletter so that way you can come straight to your inbox and you can grab some friends. Do you advise people to sign up ideally before people? That way they're doing it with friends, or
you can come on your own too.
Okay.
Like you will make friends.
Okay.
Our groups are set up for 4 people to work together. So knowing going into that, it's just whatever approach you want to take. Something's of interest to you, just come on your own. I love doing that. I love going to places and just being like me time, and I'm going to get outside my comfort zone and have some fun in what I want to do. But then also come in as a couple or with a friend. And then a lot of folks will come initially and then be like, oh, well, next time I'm coming, I'm going to buy out that table of 4 and I'm going to bring everybody, so it can be like
a fun experience.
Yeah, it feels like you're cooking at your own home.
I already have some ideas. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to, we're doing, I think it's Wild Game.
Oh my God, you're going to have a blast.
I am looking forward to that.
That's a staple.
And but I really appreciate it. Thank you for being an example in the city of how to do things the right way, and for adding value to the place that you've called home forever. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm lucky to be part of it, and it's really great to sit down and talk about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for tuning in. Look out for more episodes coming out. But for now, Queen City out. Thank you.